All right, so I just hope that everyone can hear me clearly. You can all hear me clearly. All right, you can indicate, you can respond by typing in the chat. And if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand and then I will allow you to speak. But I want to welcome you all to Extra Time Tutoring's Grade 1 Roadmap Seminar. We are an institution where we specialize in chemistry and biology for students in fourth form, fifth form, sixth form. So we actually do offer extra classes. So we actually do offer extra classes for these age groups. And we have been around for the last 10 years. And the reason why we are having this seminar was because we, especially since the COVID era, realized that one of the greatest thing to do for our students would be to give you an overview of what to expect. Because now you're in grade 10. Most of you would have been heading into grade 10. And this is now you officially starting the CXC syllabus, right? And I wanted you to understand what the CXC syllabus was about. I believe, and I've seen it, that your students do better when you understand what you're doing. And you will understand from day one when sometimes your teachers are behind you and we're saying, all right, try to get this done, try to do this. You will understand why that rush might be there. Because you are starting the CXC syllabus now in grade 10, and most of you plan to sit the exam at the end of grade 11. So yes, it is a 2-year preparation, but it is important for you to understand why it takes 2 years because of the scope of what you have to complete. I also want you to understand how we are going to be tested in the CXC exam, and most importantly, how to start organizing yourself to prepare for that exam from now. All right. And those are the things that we are trying to accomplish by having this talk with you. So it's a 45-minute talk, and we do record it. And most of the times afterwards, we do load it on our YouTube channel. And because we want you to have this information available. So we're looking at fourth form biology. The first thing I wanted to speak to you about is why are you even studying biology? And what exactly is biology? So biology is the branch of science that deals primarily with the structure, function, growth, evolution, and distribution of organisms. And that is essentially what we are going to learn about in biology. We learn about the structure of organisms, how they function, how they grow, how they evolve, and how they are distributed in various habitats. So that is, in essence, what biology is all about. And I forgot that I didn't introduce myself. I am Miss Smith. I'm Dr. Smith, one of the senior tutors at Extra Time Tutoring. So some persons are just joining. Welcome. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. And as I indicated before, this is a 45-minute talk where I'm going to walk you through the CXC curriculum, especially the part of it that you're going to be doing, in grade 10. So even though I'm going to kind of give you an idea of the CXC in general, I'm going to zoom in on the part for grade 10. So you understand what it is you must accomplish in grade 10 and what it is you go on to accomplish in grade 11. But I'm not going to go so much in detail in the grade 11 part of it though, but I'll still give you an overview. So we were just speaking about what biology is, and we just described that. And now we want to see why is the study of biology important? And these are some fundamental things, guys, I want you to know, because at the end of the day, when it is that you understand what you are doing and why you're doing it, I genuinely believe you perform better And these fundamental topics in biology in fourth form, you want to master them, because I can tell you that on the exam, the CXC exam, most of the times they do give the bulk of the questions towards the topics you would have learned in grade 10. The foundation topics you're going to learn in grade 10. Those topics are usually what makes up the majority of the exam. You're going to learn other topics in fifth form, but they tend to kind of love the fourth form topics. So I want you to make sure that you are in tune with your topics as you are going through them. So I have this video I want to show you.
We've got 60 seconds. Are you paying?
All right, so I just want to make sure you can hear the video.
We've got 60 seconds. Are you paying attention?
Are you hearing the audio from the video, guys?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I just want to make sure that we're all hearing, we're all seeing. All right, so this is just talking again about why biology is important.
We've got 60 seconds. Are you paying attention? Biology is the reason your body works and looks the way it does. The reason that your heart beats and your lungs breathe without you even thinking about it is because of your brain and nervous system. The reason your eyes and hair are the colour they are is because of your genetics. The reason you can eat an apple and turn that apple into enough energy to go for a walk is because of all the body systems, like your gut and your blood system, that can turn that matter into energy and that energy into movement. The reason that you age is partly biological. Whether you become 100 or not is down to your biology. The reason you walk, talk, are happy or sad, the reason you are you is because of biology.
So essentially, he's saying that everything about us as human beings is because of our biology, right? Our hair color, the age that we will live to, how we are able to eat food and convert that food into energy to sustain us is because of our biology. And in our straight biology, because I know some students may be exposed to human and social biology, but in the straight CXC biology, you learn about plants and animals. In human and social biology, you don't only study animals, primarily humans, right? So that's the difference between the two. So human and social biology, you would have been studying humans really. And in the straight biology, no, it's broader. So you're going to study humans, you're going to study plants, and a few things about animals itself. So it's a broader look. But at the end of the day, it tells us about living organisms, how living organisms function.
We've got 60 seconds.
So how living organisms function, grow, evolve, that's biology. All right, so the CXC syllabus, for persons who are just joining, welcome. I'm Ms. Smith. The CXC syllabus consists of 3 sections, right? And this is one of the things, guys, you must own your own copy of the syllabus. You must have your own copy of the syllabus. I normally give a copy to my students, persons who do classes at extra time. We normally upload a copy of the syllabus for you because you have to be intimate with that syllabus. So even though it is us as the teachers who are following it to teach you, you as a student also need to be following in your syllabus to make sure that you are ticking off the various objectives. And another thing as well is that in the syllabus, which I'm going to show you in a moment, CXC normally indicates which objectives they want you to know labs, they want you to know experiments about. So guys, I don't want you to just be passive and not spend the time to learn the syllabus for yourself. All right? Please don't do that. So here it is that in the CXC biology syllabus, there are 3 sections. There's section A, section B, and section C. Section A talks about living organisms in the environment. Section B looks at the processes that occur in the human body and disease. And section C has to do with continuity and variation. Continuity meaning how we have offspring and how we pass on traits to the offspring, and variation, which is why there is differences between us. So starting off with section A of the syllabus, which looks at living organisms in the environment. This section is designed as an introduction to the rest of the syllabus. It is expected that in the teaching of this section, students will work in groups outside of the classroom in order to study the interrelationships between organisms and their environment and to better facilitate their appreciation of the diversity and complexity of these relationships. So this module, the section A of the syllabus, is going to teach you general things, as it shows here, how to classify living organisms. Like, how do you know when an organism is an insect versus a mammal versus a reptile versus a crustacean? So it deals with classifying living organisms because there's so many living organisms on this planet. It also deals with ecology, which is teaching you how organisms interact with their environment. So you learn about the factors in the environment, the living factors in the environment, the non-living factors in the environment, when you learn ecology and learn how organisms interact with their environment. So this module is more, as it says, sometimes you will have to work in groups to go outside of the classroom. So you're going to have to go outside of the classroom in this module to study the environment. Sometimes, at your school, they may have a play field, or they may have an area with grass and trees, and you have to go outside and study and observe organisms interacting in the environment in this module here. You also will learn about energy flow and nutrient cycling, which is how it is that the sun sustains the entire planet, guys, right? Solar energy is what fuels our ecosystems. The solar energy is converted into chemical energy by our plants. And then that chemical energy is transferred to the animals whenever we eat plants and eat each other in the food chain. So you're going to learn that energy flow system where the sun is basically the source of energy and life for us, and how we cycle our nutrients, right? Because we don't get any more nutrients. All the nutrients that we currently have on this planet, I mean, all the carbon that we have, all the nitrogen that we have, all the proteins, all the carbohydrates, we have a finite amount of nutrients on the planet, and we're not going to get any more from space. So we have to, on Earth here, we have to cycle the nutrients, but we have to get a fresh supply of energy every day from the sun. We can't recycle the energy from the sun. Also, in this section A of the syllabus, you will learn about man's impact on the environment. Since we are in existence and we are living, how do we as humans impact the environment? And I just want to spend a moment and ask you right now. I would like everybody to type in a message to me. You don't have to type it in the general chat. Just type a direct message to me and tell me one negative way you think our presence as human beings is impacting the environment. I'll give you like 30 seconds to think it up and tell me one way. And I want every single person to give me an answer. As I said, you don't have to type it in the general chat, right? Just type a message to me. And I want everybody to participate, guys. One more minute. All right, so I have gotten quite a few responses. Thank you so much. So persons have said pollution, burning of fossil fuels, improper waste disposal, deforestation, plastic waste, noise pollution. These are some of the responses I got. And I see eutrophication. And these are all responses I agree with. Spillage of oil in the ocean. I see deforestation again. Destruction of natural habitats. So several persons say deforestation, pollution, wildlife trafficking. Well, that is a good one. Pollution again, killing the plants, definitely. Destroying the ozone layer with carbon emissions from cars and factories, 100%. Deforestation. Disposal of waste in the environment, deforestation. And we dispose of waste improperly causing pollution, deforestation again. And urbanization. Thank you so much for participating, guys. And you are all 100% correct. So these are some concepts that you already know. And so it wouldn't be unfamiliar to you. So it's more to give it structure and to assist you in answering the past papers on them. And also in this first section, there is growth. Now, I love to show you why you are learning topics. That's one of the critical things that I try to do. Every time I teach a topic, I usually search, whether it's me and we have other tutors, and I'm sure your teachers do it as well. The first thing I like to do is to make sure you see what is the relevance of this topic, because usually once you can place the relevance of a topic, you're more likely to remember what you have been taught. So even in section A, how can the knowledge of section A be applied in everyday life? Let's look at this clip.
The Earth has an elegant cycle of life. It's the story of carbon. And over billions of years, it has evolved to look something like this. It starts with a plant. Plants and microorganisms absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Then, they use energy from the sun to convert that carbon into oxygen and sugar, which they use to grow. And as they grow, they emit some carbon back into the atmosphere. But all plants eventually die, and some are consumed by bacteria, others by larger beasts. These animals eat plants for energy, and they breathe out carbon. But eventually, those animals die too, and they end up in the ground. Meanwhile, a similar thing happens in the ocean. Coral and plankton need carbon from the water to survive. Luckily, the ocean has carbon because it absorbs some from the atmosphere. And when rain falls to the earth, it grabs some carbon from the atmosphere and from rocks and flows into the ocean where the coral and plankton use carbon to grow, or other animals use it to grow. But just like animals, the coral and plankton die too. In short, all living things are made of carbon, and they eventually end up in the ground. Some of that carbon will eventually get back to the atmosphere, but some of it normally stays in the ground. Usually, dead things decay and turn into rocks. Eventually, they are crushed, and the extreme heat and pressure causes them to melt and emit the carbon, which is trapped underground. Over time, that trapped carbon eventually escapes into the atmosphere when volcanoes erupt, and the cycle starts again. But occasionally, dead plants and animals don't turn into rock. They don't decay fast enough, so they turn into oil, coal, or natural gas. This carbon gets stuck in the ground. This is the elegant system that keeps carbon cycling through Earth at a steady pace. carbon in the atmosphere keeps some heat from leaving Earth. It keeps Earth at a stable temperature. But very recently, one of these animals started to dig up the carbon in the ground. They took the carbon that was stuck in the ground and put it back into the atmosphere. And they did this so much in such a short time span that the cycle was disrupted. Too much carbon was being put into the atmosphere. Heat that would normally be able to escape bounced back and stayed on Earth. And Earth started to get warmer and warmer. Really recently, just a few months ago, more than 100 bipedal scientists said they might only have 12 years to stop a disastrous amount of warming. So these animals not only need to stop putting carbon in the atmosphere, but also get carbon out of the atmosphere. They found one way to remove carbon is to grow more plants. They could stop cutting down trees or raise livestock in ways that help restore grass. Another way is to let plants suck up carbon from the atmosphere, but then burn them for energy, and then trapping the carbon they emit underground. They could also build machines to suck air from the atmosphere and filter out the carbon, but they haven't figured out how to do this fast enough. There are many ways these animals can tweak the cycle to suck carbon out of the atmosphere. A combination of them is probably the best way forward. But first, these animals need to figure out how to stop putting it there in the first place. If you haven't heard already, we've launched a paid membership program.
All right, guys. So that was to basically tie in a lot of what you were saying before when you were saying that deforestation, pollution, burning fossil fuels. No, right now, I had to show you this video because the reality is that as a human species, our greatest impact on this planet has been the fact that we have caused the very atmosphere of this planet to have changed, right? We have caused the atmosphere of the planet to have changed. Now, that is a very, very significant thing. Very, very significant thing. And now we are facing this problem now of global warming, right? Global warming.
In the years after the American Civil War, the U.S. made...
So we're now facing this problem of global warming, guys, and you're going to delve into that. So let's continue now, guys. So we also said we are going to look at classification. We're going to be looking at the classification of organisms in section A of the syllabus. And we're going to be seeing how to group organisms together. So you learn that you have a kingdom of protists. These are usually single-cellular organisms. You have a kingdom of bacteria, kingdom of fungi, kingdom of plants, kingdom of animals. And then we're going to learn how to break down the kingdom of the animals into smaller groups. You're not going to really learn so much about the plants, but the animals, you learn more about how to break them down and classify animals. So that's section A of the syllabus. Remember that there are 3 sections in the syllabus, A, B, and C. So that's what section A entails. Now, section B is a big section. This has the most topics. So you're going to complete section A in grade 10. And then you're going to start section B in grade 10, guys. And you're going to finish it up in grade 11. So I want these things to be planted in your head, so that when you're doing the topics, you don't just sit there going to class and just doing topic after topic after topic. You need to know where you are in terms of the scheme of things, especially when it is time for you to sit the exam. You as a student should be aware to say, well, I have completed section A, I have completed section B, and I have completed section C. You have to be aware. You want to have that syllabus. You want to go through and look and tick off and say, yes, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. And then any topic in the syllabus where CXC underlines it, which you're going to see in a moment, when they're saying, learn the experiments on this topic, you also want to be able to make sure you have researched the experiments. If you can have that position and that attitude as a student before your exams, I guarantee that you are going to get a grade 1 because it means you are an aware student, right? So section B now, the life processes will largely be illustrated in humans and flowering plants because these are the two groups which students are most familiar and about which they should have some degree of understanding. Comparisons with other organisms should be included where appropriate. But basically, they're saying that you're going to learn more about humans and plants. And you're going to learn about the interdependence and internal processes occurring in at the organ and cellular levels in maintaining the organism in a healthy state. You're going to also learn about diseases which are common in the Caribbean and affecting the quality of life of the people in the Caribbean. You're going to learn about the efficiency of, how the diseases affect the efficiency of the human resources and economy. And the purpose of section B is to make students sufficiently aware of the problems and their implications so they can recognize and deal with them in their own environments. So these are the topics now in section B that you're going to cover in grade 10. Remember, section B is big. So when you start grade 11, you're going to continue in section B. But in section A, you're going to learn about cells, nutrition, respiration, transport in humans, transport in plants. So basically, guys, this kind of tells you what your teachers try to cover in grade 10. All right, let me just go back a moment. So if we're going to do section A in grade 10, so it means you're going to learn these topics: classification of living organisms, ecology, energy flow and nutrient cycling, man's impact on environment and growth. That's 5 topics so far in section A. And then in section B, you're going to learn another 5 topics: cells, nutrition, respiration, transport in humans, and transport in plants. So that's at least 10 topics that you have to go through. These topics, some of them are big topics. So don't think that, oh, you're going to do 1 topic per week. No, some of them takes several weeks to be completed. So these 10 topics you must get done in the 4th form year. All right, at least these 10, nothing less than these 10. So cells, I just have a quick video here to show you about cells, just to make you see why are you learning about it, because there is application in our everyday life. And I love when you see the application. Seeing here, guys, is a cell. This is a cell, and a cell is like an entire tree, right, inside of us. And you're seeing the cell, and what happened is that this cell was actually infected by a virus. And why is this even important? Because we just came out of a pandemic caused by the COVID-19 virus, and this virus would inject its RNA or its genetic material into the cell, just like we're seeing right there. This genetic material that it infected into our cells was red. And after it was red, it used our cells. It used the machinery inside of our cells to make more copies of itself. So that's exactly what happens. So this is just showing you the different parts inside of the cell, how it's using it to manufacture more copies of the virus. And the next thing you know, multiple copies of that virus is coming out of the cell. And remember, all that was injected into the cell was just 2 strands of DNA or RNA, which is what you saw in the video. Next thing you know, thousands of different viruses are coming out of that cell. And then the cell is going to be destroyed in the process. And remember how that COVID-19 pandemic was stemmed with the vaccine, right? When they basically mimicked the virus to an extent and exposed the body to the virus, and the body's defense system was able to come up with a mechanism. We're going to also learn about transport, as we said, in section B. This one has to do with stem cells. This is an application of the knowledge of transport. I'm going to show you this one as well.
Can you imagine a world where one day, if you need a new heart, you could just order one made just for you? Sound like science fiction? Well, it's not so far off. Hey guys, Julia here for D-News. Dude, so something pretty cool just happened in the wonderful world of science. Researchers grew beating hearts from human stem cells. Okay, fine, that's a little bit of hyperbole. It's not the whole heart, but just a few beating cells, but it's still really cool. In one study published in the journal Nature, the researchers used human skin cells, turned them into pluripotent cells, and then used physical and chemical signals to coax the cells into forming little cardiac microchambers, which could be important for studying how the heart grows in an embryo, or how drugs might affect a fetus's heart, or looking way into the future for growing hearts in a dish. It could be a great way to replace organs. No more waiting for a donor, and since it would be perfectly matched to your body, no more terrible drugs to prevent rejection. So far, smaller organs like tracheas and bladders have been grown in a lab using a person's own stem cells, but a heart is a little more complicated. So let's take a little look into how we got here. First of all, what are stem cells? Stem cells are pluripotent, meaning they are undifferentiated cells that can develop into any kind of cell, like skin, heart, liver, etc. So, alright, what's the big deal? Why do researchers love to study stem cells? Even from the earliest inklings of stem cells, there have been big dreams. Researchers have hoped that one day we could be able to grow entire new organs from stem cells that would be a perfect match for the recipient. We've come a long way from the early days of stem cell research. Human stem cells were first isolated in 1998 by 2 independent research teams, one led by James A. Thompson of the University of Wisconsin, and another by John D. Gearhart of Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. Those early stem cell lines were derived from embryos, which are destroyed in the process, and thus stirred a little bit of controversy. Okay, it stirred a lot of controversy. Because of the debate that raged in the US surrounding embryonic stem cell research, scientists looked to find stem cells in other adult tissues. So a few years later, in 2001, adult stem cells were found in fat tissue. Now, adult stem cells can be found in almost any tissue, but they're a little tricky. They take a while to coax into growing in a dish, so they're not ideal. But in 2007, in a paper published in the journal Nature Biotechnology, Dr. Anthony Atala discovered that amniotic fluid also contained stem cells, which of course only added more fuel to the debate. In the same year, 2 independent teams of researchers pioneered a process to turn adult somatic cells into pluripotent stem cells, naturally called induced pluripotent stem cells. The process involves introducing 4 different genes into the cells using a virus as a carrier. The team from Japan, led by Shinya Yamanaka, published their work in the journal Cell, and the team led by James Thompson at the University of Wisconsin-Madison published their work in the journal Nature. And it was such a huge deal that Yamanaka actually won the 2012 Nobel Prize for discovering iPS cells. And of course, this discovery held a lot of promise. It would sidestep some of the controversy surrounding embryonic stem cells, but there are more than a few issues with this technique, like low efficiency. It's difficult to do, and when done, only a few cells are reprogrammed. Plus, there's weird problems with rejection, and also a problem with tumors developing. But problems aside, tons of studies have been and are being done with this technology, with lofty goals, like attempting to cure blindness and diabetes. The Federation of American Societies for Experimental Biology says that iPS cells will allow scientists to study complex human diseases in petri dishes, a step toward analyzing the conditions and developing therapies. Some researchers, like Dr. Atala, don't care where stem cells come from, just that they work well.
All right, guys, so basically this aspect of it, I wanted to show you because it was saying that scientists have figured out a way to do stem cells. So stem cells are cells in the body that have not become specific. They are still very general. So it simply means that if you can trigger them, you can convert them into any other type of cell that you want to convert them into, because they are still unspecialized. So what they did in this research here was that they found out a way to convert stem cells into cells of the heart. And they believe that this technology, this research, could be the potential way to cure many incurable diseases. For example, some persons who have spinal cord injury and they're paralyzed. And the reason why I know you cannot, nerve cells, whenever they're damaged, they don't regenerate. So whatever amount of cells you're born with in your brain or in your spinal cord, that's it. You'll never get any more for the rest of your life. So if they become damaged, they normally don't get replaced. Unlike cells in other parts of the body. So cells in the skin, they get damaged, they get replaced. Cells in the liver, they get damaged, they get replaced. But the cells of the heart and cells of the nervous system, they don't do that. But they are now exploring with stem cell technology how they can convert other stem cells into cells of the heart and cells of the nervous system and cure incurable diseases. All right. And some of you among this group here might very well be the scientists who will make breakthroughs in these types of research. So no. So we would have done 5 topics out of section B in grade 10. So when you start grade 11, you would then be completing the rest of the topics in section B. So you'd have to learn about how the body defends itself against diseases, how to transport, make transporting plants, excretion, reproduction, movement, how organisms respond to their environment, growth, and disease. And the final section, so now I want you to have it clearly in your head. In grade 11, you're going to complete section B of your syllabus, in which you have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 topics to do. And you're going to complete section C of your syllabus, which has 6 major topics. Of course, there are subtopics underneath them. So if you have that idea in your head, guys, and you are going through with your syllabus and ticking off, you will know exactly where you are on your journey to CXC. You should not be lost. You should know at what speed you should be moving. If you know your destination, which is why we call this the RoadMap seminar, if you know your destination is 2 years from now when you're doing your CXC exam and you are counting off from now, you should know where along the road you are. And you should be moving at a speed which allows you to get to your destination on time. Okay, go ahead with the question.
Good morning, Miss, and good morning, everyone. I was just asking if you could please go back to the section B.
All right. Section B. This part, the part that you're going to cover in grade 11?
Yes, thank you, Miss.
Okay. So this part, I'm not going to go deep in it because you're going to do it in grade 11, right? But I just want you to understand why the 4th form year, you have to make sure you get your topics in the 4th form year, because you already have a lot of topics to do in 5th form. So you don't want to be coming over in 5th form with things that were undone in 4th form. And again, as I mentioned to you, look at how many topics you have to learn in 5th form. You have these 6 topics to learn in section C, and these topics are a little bit more complex, which is why they leave them until last. You have these 8 topics to finish up in section B, right? And I'm saying to you that they love to test you on section A. Like at least a good amount of the questions on the exam, section A, those fundamental things, they love to test that. Fundamentals. So you want to make sure your fundamentals are strong. So in total, guys, you have 5 topics in section A, 12 topics in section B. I'm talking in total now before you sit CXC. 6 topics in section C. So you're looking at 23 topics in total to sit your CXC exam. But remember, these have subtopics. All right. Now, remember in grade 10, you have to make sure that all of section A was completed and at least 5 topics in section B. So at least 10 topics should be done in grade 10. Then you also are going to be doing your SBAs, your school-based assessment, which is, the experiments are designed to assist you in acquiring knowledge, the skills, and the attitudes which are critical to the subject. And the activities in the school-based assessment are linked to the suggested practical activities. and should form part of the learning activities to enable the student to achieve the objective of the syllabus. So while you're in the class learning the theory, the labs are supposed to show you the practical application of the theory. And as a scientist, you have to develop experimental skills, which is why even for students who are not doing the subject at their school and they want to do it privately with us, because we do allow students to do it privately, we don't do the third paper, because you have 3 papers. The number 1, number 2, and number 3 is a third paper. We prefer to have students do the labs because we don't want you to bypass acquiring the skills. Notice the skills. Everything else is bookwork, but labs actually comes with skills. So here are practicals, which CXC says. So CXC says that you as a student must do at least 18 labs over the 2 years which you're studying CXC. And that's the minimum. So you can do more than 18, but it cannot be less than 18. And the experiments must come from these 7 topics, at least. It must include these. You can do experiments on other topics, but if these 7 are not included, then that would have been considered to be insufficient. There must be a lab or 2 on ecology. There must be labs done on movement, like diffusion and osmosis. You have to do labs on photosynthesis and respiration, labs on testing food, labs on germination of seeds, labs on nutrition and diseases, and labs on genetics. These are 7 core topics that CXC says labs must be done on, and you must do at least 18. And most schools, or some of the schools, try to get as much done in grade 10 as possible. So this is just an idea of what the school is going to submit for you at the end of year 1 and year 2. So you're going to be assessed on these skills, manipulation and measurement, how you observe, record, and report information, how you can plan and design your own experiments, how you draw biological specimens, how you analyze and interpret information. So you're going to have to get labs on the 7 topics that they saw before, and the labs have to each assess one of these skills. So you're going to do labs where the teacher is watching how you are doing the lab. There are going to be labs where they look at how you write up the report for the lab. Next, you're going to get labs where you have to plan the lab yourself. Next, you're going to get labs where you draw a specimen, and labs where you have information to interpret. So you're going to have to do that in grade 10, and you're going to have to do that in grade 11 as well. And then the lab sheets are going to be, so the teachers and the schools will complete this sheet. And at the end of the day, you will be told how much you get out of 90. So at the end of the day, year 1 and year 2, you can earn up to 50, you can learn up to 50 marks in grade 10 and 40 in grade 11 to make up the 90. And of course, you want to go in with no less than about 80 out of 90. So now, when it's now time for you to do CXC, you're going to get 2 papers to do. Paper 1 is a multiple choice with 60 questions, which is testing this skill or the profile. You're testing how well you acquire, how well you understand knowledge and comprehension. It doesn't really test how well you use knowledge, and it doesn't test anything about experiments. The multiple choice paper with the 60 multiple choice is just checking how much you remember and how much you understand. Paper 2 now is the structured paper where you have to write. That is now testing 3 different levels of skills. It's testing how well you understand and remember, how well you use your knowledge, and there is a part of it testing your experimental skill. Paper 3 now, which is the labs, is testing your use of knowledge and your experimental skills. So at the end of the day, this might look a little bit complicated, but this is what it comes down to be. Your CXC is going to give you 3 profiles on the when you get your grade, whether you get a grade 1, a grade 2, or a grade 3, 3 profiles. It's going to assess how well you did knowledge and comprehension. So that makes up 48% of your final grade, how well you remembered things. Most of that came from the multiple choice paper, and the rest came from paper 2. You're going to also check how well you use knowledge, and that's 32.5% of your grade. The bulk of assessment for use of knowledge came from paper 2 and the labs. And your experimental skills will make up 19.5, which is approximately 20% of your final grade, which is why I was suggesting to you that you try to get at least 80 out of the 90 marks that you can get for labs. Because if you get 90, then it means that whatever you get in the labs, you can divide it by 3, and you know exactly what grade you're going into the paper with, right? So this is just the raw way to do it, but at the end of the day, you see what they are assessing you on. That's a complex assessment. So the three things, as I said, that CXC is going to put on that grade slip is your knowledge and comprehension, your use of knowledge, and your experimental skill. And I just went in to explain to you what these things are. What does knowledge and comprehension mean? What does use of knowledge mean? All of this is in the syllabus, guys. So I'm just taking out important points from the syllabus and bringing it to your attention. So I'm showing you, saying that you have to get the syllabus and read them for yourself. It even tells you for each of the lab skills what exactly these lab skills are about. So my suggestion to you, to prepare for your CXC exam starting in grade 10, make sure you have at least 2 hours of time dedicated to learning the subject. And after every single class, ensure that you do questions, written essay questions, and multiple choice questions on the topic you learned. As soon as you learn something, you have to implement. And try to score optimally in your labs. Go in, because remember, that labs contribute 20% of your final CXC grade. I strongly suggest that you should try to go in with no less than 15% out of that 20, right? 15% out of 20, you should try to secure that in your labs. Have your personal copy of the syllabus and tick off in your syllabus objectives that were covered each week in syllabus. And this is what now, when you look at your syllabus, it tells you each objective, and then it also tells you if a lab can be done on that objective, where it says suggested practical activities right here. So it suggests that you can carry out a lab on this topic, and it suggests even what lab. So even if your teacher doesn't do this actual lab, CXC still expects you to know the lab. So what I normally do is still show you videos about the lab and still teach you how to interpret it, even if you don't do that specific lab. Because remember, you can't do every single lab that CXC suggests, but you must have knowledge of it, right? Read ahead on the experiments that can be done for an objective. Watch YouTube videos to get visual insight of the topics and labs. So a lot of the labs, you can watch a video on YouTube and you'll see there's somebody doing the lab already before you even do it, right? So if you take that approach, guys, and you are following and you are keeping abreast of where you are, I guarantee that that will position you to get a distinction, because a distinction means, that you have mastery over the content. All the body of knowledge that you were given, you have mastered it, but you're not going to master it unless you are aware of what you're doing. And awareness doesn't mean that, you're just going to class and just do what the teacher says. You need to understand the entire process, which is what the seminar was for. All right. So this is where we stopped for grade 10 biology. I know a lot of you would have signed up for the chemistry too. So we're gonna stop here, and you can log in again for the chemistry. And that's going to be at 10, so in another 10 minutes. But I thank you so much for joining. And these videos I'm going to upload this recording on YouTube. So if there's anything you wanted to see again, you can go on our YouTube channel at Extra Time Tutoring. Thank you so much for attending. And remember that we do offer the classes in biology and chemistry for students who are interested. But thank you so much again, and enjoy the rest of your day. See you at 10 for the persons doing chemistry. You're most welcome, guys.